This is Base Hit Ball 4.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of BASEHITBALL4. 4. My name is Glenn Denigris alongside Tyler Blumenstick. You're making me laugh, Tyler. Alex Cashman and Scott Roswell. We're powering through this one. I don't care. Another edition, another week closer to the MLB season that starts on July 23rd. The inter-squad scrimmages are continuing. But, guys, something that's very concerning to me is that Aaron Judge is not participating in these scrimmages after months and months and months of rehabbing his broken rib. Now he has a stiff neck. All these ticky-tack injuries with him, it's becoming a problem.
Becoming a problem? I think it's been a problem since day one. I mean, his first season was phenomenal. He played the whole season. He was okay for the most part. I lied, actually. He played hurt the whole second half of the season, didn't he? His numbers went down exponentially, I'm pretty sure.
He had a shoulder thing in 2017 in the second half.
All right, well, there's that. And then, he comes back, and he had the freak accident 2 years ago, and then last year was a mess, and then at the end of the season was a mess, and here we are again, and guess what? It's a mess.
Yeah. I said he wasn't injury prone and happens to be injury prone, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
not a great start for the
yes.
Yankees.
Go ahead, Scott.
Just not a great start. You don't want your MVP caliber right fielder missing time already. Definitely is an issue moving forwards. I hope for the best for him, for that he can stay healthy, because he's an amazing talent. But it's definitely an issue at this point with being able to trust him. So that's where I'm at with it.
I don't want to go into the whole podcast about Aaron Judge because we have a fun activity that we're gonna do in just a second. But I was thinking about it this morning. You think of the best players in the game. You think of the Trouts and the Yeliches and the Betts and the Bellingers. And Judge should be in that conversation. But he's not, only because he gets hurt all the time. I mean, his talent is right up there with those guys. And it's just unbelievable to me that he just can't stay healthy. And I said this in the group chat earlier today. By the time it's time to talk about his contract extension, what are the Yankees going to do? I mean, they're going to have to tell you, you're not going to get the money that you may want, your talent deserves, because you just don't stay on the field.
Well, I think there's a few reasons why he's not in that conversation with the Trouts, the Betts, the Yeliches of the league. And one of them is he entered the league at a little bit of an older age. He was, 25, right? 26 when he entered the league. And he got hot right from the beginning, without a doubt. But, between that and the fact that he does not stay on the field. And, the third thing is, which nobody really seems to talk about, is I feel like these guys get super famous or super, they're looked at as the superstars of the league after that first contract. Like, when you can make it to that first big deal, like, obviously Trout was a little bit of a different story, but, like, look at a guy like Yelich. He got that big contract, right? Or he's still on his rookie deal? No, he got a big contract from the Brewers.
I just got one.
I don't know. I just feel like that's part of it. You have to have the longevity. Not even that's longevity, but you got to stay healthy long enough to get that big contract. And I'm not sure Judge will ever get that big contract, not only because of the health issues, but like I said, he entered the league at 25. If he's a free agent by 29, the Yankees aren't going to give him a 10-year deal. They better not give him a 10-year deal.
You'd be surprised.
I'd be surprised because you're already giving Stanton $1 billion over 10 years. And you got to –
and Glaber's going to want a 10-year deal.
Glaber's probably going to be more deserving of a more lengthy contract than Judge will be, because fact that Glaber will be a free agent when he's 26, 27 years old.
Same with Gary.
Same with Gary, but we'll see. Gary, if still, even with the injury proneness that Judge has, I would still choose Judge over Gary if I had to keep only one.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. But I just also want it to be known. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ty.
Sorry. We got a little issues with Zoom. Sometimes it's like a little bit of a delay. But no, what I was saying, the only way I would give Gary a contract long term is, like, yes, he's the best hitting catcher in baseball. I mean, arguably up there with Real Muto, but his defense has to come along if he wants to get paid the way he wants to get paid. Look, they brought in I forget, his name is slipping my mind, but the guy that transformed Mitch Garver in Minnesota. We actually have a blog about it up on the website. From Matt Rebusel, so go check that out if you're interested in a little catcher story. But the one thing he's doing is he's teaching Gary to kind of start his glove at the bottom of the zone and bring it upwards when he's framing a pitch, as opposed to setting up kind of more towards his chest, and then for a low pitch going down to grab it. And I was looking at video, and it really does make sense, because when you're bringing your glove down, the optics of it makes it look like a ball. And when you're starting your glove at the bottom of the zone and you come up and grab a low pitch, your momentum brings your hand up, and you can frame it more at the top of the knee. So, look, there's just like little things that he can work on, and especially blocking is a huge thing. But like, if he wants to get that contract, it's got to come by way of his defense improving.
And also, he has a tendency to get a little bit lazy when it comes to blocking balls. Scott, before we get into our big activity for the podcast today, any updates on how your Phillies look during their inter squad and their summer camp?
Yeah, so the first inter squad scrimmage was aired today. It's still going on. They're playing 10 innings. Got to see Zach Wheeler pitch. He looked phenomenal, which was great because I've been skeptical of that signing just because I've seen him pitch a lot, and he's an above average pitcher. I would hope he can develop a little bit more. The other starting pitcher is Vince Velasquez, who's battling for the 5th spot. Another guy who's got potential but has struggled historically. But one of the things that the broadcasters were talking about was just how consistent defensively the Phillies have been, starting back in spring, and has continued here into summer camp, and just the impact that Girardi has had, just driving home consistency to this franchise, where when a minor leaguer was coming up to play in a spring training game, he knew exactly what was going on that the big league team was doing, which I think is huge because injuries happen all the time in sports. The ability to have somebody come in and replace what's going on and just having an idea of what they need to be doing is a huge step in that process. So that was something that excited me hearing that today, just how consistent they've been top to bottom as an organization has excited me going into this new season.
Well, we're about a few days away from scrimmages between different teams. I believe the Yankees and Phillies play next Monday, I believe. I know they play the Mets this weekend. So we're getting there. We're about 9 days away from opening day, and we decided to have a fun activity for this episode.
Speaking
we're going to do
opening day, I got to
ahead.
plug my minors.
Oh, yes. How silly of me to forget something that important. Go, please.
I'm going to smack you.
Take the
I just
floor.
want you to know. So
Virtually?
anyway,
Yeah.
No, I'm going to come over there and smack you, but with a mask on. But
Social distance slap.
just wanted to give a quick shout out to my Sussex County Miners. We'll be opening the season on July 23rd. We'll have a little 6-team tournament for the second half of the summer. We're incredibly excited to get started. Skyland Stadium, come out and support the Sussex County Miners, and the New Jersey Cardinals are back for a half season of action.
Who are the New Jersey Cardinals?
The New Jersey Cardinals used to be the single-A affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals, and they played in Skyland Stadium. When the stadium first opened, the Cardinals were the team to build it.
So they just put together a team, just random players, or have they been active?
No. It's just another team so that we could get a league going. So there will be 2 home teams in each stadium. There will be the Sussex County Miners and the New Jersey Cardinals at Skyland Stadium, the New Jersey Jackals and the Jersey Wise Guys at Yogi Berra Stadium.
I like that team. I think that's cool.
The New York Bold and the New York Brave. The Rockland Bold and the New York Brave at Palisades Park.
Wonderful. That's exciting.
Yeah, so we can't wait to get started.
So, and there will be fans in those stands, right?
There will be fans in the stands.
So good.
And we can't wait to see you guys come out.
So if you're itching to see baseball in person, that's your.
I know
your
Tyler's
window.
coming. I know
Tyler's coming. I'll
be
go.
there.
I just don't want to drive 90 minutes to Skylands when I can go to Yogi. That's 15 minutes away.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be at Yogi, so.
Well, even when it's a Miners and Jackals game,
we have home games every weekend between either the
Oh.
Miners or the Cardinals.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for that plug, Cash. Always appreciated. All right. Top 10 home runs in MLB history. Pretty self-explanatory. This was hard. This is harder than I thought it was going to be because there's so many home runs that you can pick. You can do a top 30 at the top of your head real quick. So my question to you guys before we deep dive into this list is this more of personal favorites, historical favorites, things that you probably were there live? How'd you guys come up with your lists?
I just so like I admittedly am like not really bad, but like I'm not so familiar with like deep history, like beginning of baseball history, like 50s, 60s, 70s. Like my knowledge starts more 90s on, where I'm actually comfortable talking about it. So I did some research. Like I've seen clips of stuff, but it doesn't really stick in my mind as to like the relevance and the significancy. Is that a word?
Yes.
Significancy of like these home runs when they actually happened back in the day. So mine's kind of a mix of both.
The historical impact.
Yeah,
Is that what you're looking for? Okay.
well, I mean, at the time it wasn't a historical impact, but today, like, I just don't. It's hard to grasp the historical impact of that, not obviously living through the moment itself.
Scott, how'd you come up with your list?
Spent a lot of time on YouTube today instead of working. So
I hope
sorry to my
Good.
managers out there. I know you're not listening, but so yeah, a lot of YouTube. Just to kind of refresh my memory, some historical moments, a couple personal favorites mixed in there. It was a fun activity to do, so I'm excited to see how we compare, moving forwards.
All right, let's start at number 10. Cash.
No, it's okay. I didn't have to answer
I'm
that question.
I'm leading you in to go first. Or if you want to make a comment, go ahead.
Mine was personal. Okay, now you
Okay,
can
yours is
lead
perfect.
in.
So how are we
Cash,
gonna do
give
this?
me
Are
your
we all
top
gonna
10.
Are we all gonna give 10, or we're just gonna everybody run through it?
Let's do 10. Everyone go through 10, and then everyone go through 9.
Okay.
And then all the way down. So I'll give
Works.
Cash the leadoff spot.
All right, so at number 10, this was hard for me because at the time it made me so excited, but it's just not that significant of a home run. When Jeter came back after his broken foot, his leadoff home run right off the DL, that's number 10 for me. That I screamed. My dad came sprinting inside saying, "Alex, what's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong?" I was like, "Jeter just hit a leadoff home run right off the DL. Like, he's back. He's back." And I just
That was that 2013 team where Jeter broke the ankle in the playoffs the year before. He came back against Kansas City, and he had a little chopper third base single, and he got hurt immediately on that hit, I think. And then he missed like another month and a half, and then he hit that home run off the Rays and Matt Moore, I believe.
Yeah, it was wild.
And then everyone was like, "Here we go, 2013 Yankees, we're gonna win it all." And then Jeter got hurt again.
No, I think you might have been the
team
only
wasn't
one
good.
thinking that.
Yeah, well, that 13, 14, 15, 16 teams are not Yankees teams to write home about. That was a good. I remember that home run very well.
Yeah, it made my heart race. It's racing
Tyler.
thinking about it.
So I'll stick with the Jeter theme here. My number 10 is Jeter's 3,000th hit off David Price, into the left field bleachers against the Rays. I just feel like it's not like in the scope of history and all time, it's not one of the biggest home runs, but it's a nice little personal favorite for me to throw in at number 10 and sneak in there before I kind of get to the serious stuff. So,
But he is also one of only a few players to get their 3,000th hit on a home run. So there is some significance to that.
Him,
It is
A-Rod. I was at the A-Rod one, by the way.
I have A-Rod's 3,000th in my honorable mentions. So,
And then I have Wade Boggs also hit 3,000 home run. 3,000
So,
hit as a home run.
It's a select group and
Yeah.
3 great, Hall of Fame talents right there. So
Yep.
I'd say it's a good pick.
I like that pick too.
Okay. I
don't-
appreciate it.
I mean, all these lists are going to be completely different because we all have different ways of determining what's the best of all time. Some people did historic. I did more historic. You guys are doing personal. That's totally fine. But if you do top 10 Yankees home runs of all time, I think that would sneak in, I guess.
Yeah, I got to be honest
Did a
with
list
you,
like
and
that.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but all of my home runs are Yankee home runs.
Oh, God.
Oh
That's
my
why
God.
it took
I
you so
knew
quick to do
I
it.
knew it. I knew it.
I don't care. It's my personal list.
It's your
Yeah,
list. You can
it's-
do whatever
it's
the
your
hell you
list.
want.
It's
Good
your
for you.
list.
Scott, go ahead.
So number 10, Jose Altuve, a home run off of Aroldis Chapman.
Oh,
Anyone?
you're a
Nah,
piece of shit.
That'll
I-
just
no,
about do
somebody
it for
from the
this
Zoom
edition
chat.
of Base Hit Ball 4.
I'm kidding. I just wanted to ruffle some feathers there. My number 10 is actually Rajay Davis's.
Oh, so that wasn't
home
even your number
run.
10. So you're just actually an asshole.
Yeah,
I
I
was
wanted
just
to piss you
trolling
guys
us.
off.
Okay.
Yeah. So my number 10 is actually Rajay Davis's home run in the bottom of the 8th inning of Game 7 of the World Series in 2006
I like
off
that
of
a lot.
Chapman. Not a guy known for his power. Came up in a huge spot, tied the game for the Indians. Unfortunately, they went on to lose that game. But along with the call by Matt Vasgersian, it's just an incredible moment. I just remember watching that game in the living room of my house at Monmouth with my friends there, and just going nuts because it was an incredible game, big home run. So that's my number 10.
This is also on my list. It's not 10. It's a little bit more down my list. But yeah, this home run is one of those holy shit moments that you're watching. It doesn't matter what team you're a fan of. Like, you watch that and you're like, wow, this is one of the most insane things I've ever seen in my life, because, it was game 7. Both teams haven't won in a million years. The Cubs, it was 108. The Indians, it was 60 something, 70 something years. I think 1948 was the last time the Indians won. So both teams who just haven't won in forever. The Cubs had a 5-1 lead after 4.5. They were down 6-3 entering that 7th inning. You have probably the best reliever in baseball in the game, and a tie, and you hit a 3-run home run like that. It's crazy. And if the Indians would have won that game, I think it's probably in the top 3 historically.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely would go up if they win that game. Definitely take a knock for the loss, but still an incredible moment for him.
It's one of those, Cash's favorite movies, Moneyball. The famous quote is, "How can you not be romantic about baseball?" That's one of those moments for me. So I think that's number 8 for me. My number 10 is the Bucky Dent home run against the Red Sox. My list is more historical, so I went back and back and back, decades and decades and decades. The Bucky Dent home run against the Red Sox in that 1978 one-game playoff, hit it off Mike Torres in the 7th. The Yankees were down 3-0 in the 7th inning. Down 2-0, I'm sorry, and he hit a 3-run home run to give the Yankees a 3-2 lead. A little backstory: the Yankees were down by 14 games on July 19th of that year. They came storming back. They forced the one-game playoff, and they won the game. They won the division, and they ended up winning their 2nd straight World Series. So without that home run, who knows who wins that? Maybe the Red Sox go on to win the World Series, and the curse of the Bambino stops 50 years before or 30 years before it did in 2004. So one of those home runs that changed the landscape for both franchises, the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's not one that would immediately come up for me. I've always heard a lot about it, but obviously, is not as growing up as a Yankee fan. Don't know a ton about that one, but I've always heard about that Bucky Dent home run. So I feel that's certainly fair to throw that on your list there.
All right, Cash, what next Yankee moment do you have at 9?
Yeah, let me pull my list back up here. So at 9, this one, I wanted lower on the list, and I had a hard time with this list, man. I did, but number 9 is Alex Rodriguez's home run in the 15th inning in 2009 against the Red Sox. Off, I don't remember who was off. I know Josh Beckett started that game, and AJ Burnett started that game for the Yankees. It was a 0-0 game, and finally in the 15th inning, A-Rod just unleashed a moonshot. Jeter on second base. Yankees win 2-0. I love baseball.
It's a big home run. It's not top 10 of all time, but I know it's your list. I know it's your list, but I asked specifically for the 10 best of all.
In my opinion, it's top 10 of all time. In my head, it's top 10 of all time.
Sure.
Also, I didn't read the text message fully. I thought it just said your favorite home runs. So there's that. But I'm giving my 2
weekly
cents.
Story here with you.
Why?
Not reading the group chat.
You don't read texts.
I'm bad, but I did read. I have my list, and I have honorable mentions of non-Yankee home runs. So
you might be like the king of asking a question where the answer, like if you just take your thumb and scroll it like maybe twice up, you'll find the answer without even having to text.
Well, maybe I can't read. How about that?
He chooses what he wants to.
College graduate, can't read. Backstory on that home run. The Yankees in that season 09, obviously they won the World Series, but a lot of people forget because they ended up winning and it doesn't matter anymore, that they started the season 0-8 against the Red Sox. They were terrible against the Red Sox, and they beat everybody else.
Terrible against everyone at the beginning.
So that was the beginning of a 4-game series in the early August, I believe, and that Yankees really pulled away in the division with that home run. It's one of the classic Yankee Red Sox games in regular season history, at least. So that's your number 9. We go back up to Tyler.
All right, number 9 for me is Didi Gregorius's 3-run home run in the wild card game against the Twins. It's again not really cracking the top 10 of all time. But after Luis Severino went out there and absolutely threw in a clunker to the Twins, and Didi literally re-energized that entire baseball team. I just feel like it had to go in there. Yeah, I get you were there. We
I
understand.
wasn't gonna say anything. I'm just.
I
sitting here
thought
you're just smiling down there.
I'm sure this is the top 3 in Cash's list, is it not?
Probably number one.
It's not number one, but
Oh my
it's up
God.
there.
I'll
None
tell
of
you
none of you listen to me.
Here, Glenn.
None of
I'm
you-
here participating, and I'm here giving good entertainment. All right, so you
Okay.
shut it.
All right.
Thank you.
I know exactly
go
where
ahead.
I was when that home
I know
run
exactly
was
where
hit.
I was.
I
Yeah,
was
my
in the
apartment.
Five Guys on Route 36. Is that 30? It's 36 or 35 up at school. And I listened to the first, like the top of the first in the car on the way there. I was like, oh, this game's over. And then I went in and I was watching it on my phone while I was waiting for my order. And then Didi hit that bomb. And I was like, oh, we got a game here. And I just vividly remember sitting in that Five Guys just waiting for my food.
I
So go
remember
ahead,
texting
please.
Tyler after the top of the first inning, and I said, "Tyler, am I crazy for live betting the Yankees here?" And he said, "Yes, but I'm doing it too."
My story about that home run is that I had to miss the top of the first inning of that game because I was calling a women's high school field hockey game on WMCX at Monmouth. So
Big
I missed
time.
the top of the first. Big time. Huge.
You're not
I
a big
had to
fan.
do
You're
it.
not a true fan.
I suck. So I get to my car after the game and I turn on and John Sterling's like, yeah, Severino's having a really rough inning. I was like, Jesus Christ, what's going on? So it's 3-0. I walk into Tyler's apartment and then Didi hits the home run.
Just Tyler's apartment. Just Tyler's.
You
apartment.
weren't there.
You weren't
saw it
there.
live,
So in that
spoiled
moment,
brat.
it's Tyler's apartment. Okay.
We shared the
So-
rent.
Everybody yeah, okay, sure. So everybody in the apartment went absolutely nuts. It was probably the craziest time craziest home run, craziest I ever went on a home run. So that's a big moment for me. Top 10 Yankee home runs in my lifetime. That's definitely in there.
Without a doubt.
Without a
Yeah,
doubt.
it's in there.
Absolutely.
It's in there.
All right, Scotty.
All right, so my 9 is David Freese's walk-off home run in Game
That's one of my
6
honorable
the
mentions.
2011 World Series. Absolute breakout series for David Freese. And then another great call by the announcer, Joe Buck, emulating his father, making the same call. We'll see you tomorrow night. Just a big moment there. It sticks out for me. Hitting a walk-off home run in the World Series has got to be one of the greatest feelings ever. So certainly, want to throw that one on my list.
And what's amazing about that home run, Scott, is leading up to it, what that Game 6 was about to become, because the Cardinals were trailing in the 9th. They were a strike away from losing. And who was up? David Freese hits the triple in the bottom of the 9th over Nelson Cruz's head to tie the game. And then right after that, Josh Hamilton hits the 2-run home run to give the Rangers the lead again. Bottom of that inning, Lance Bergman ties the game. And then a couple innings later, it was just one of those crazy games. Like we talked before about the Game 7 of 2016 with Rajai Davis. Both of those World Series games are just nuts. And one of the reasons why baseball is one of the, if in my opinion, the best sport that you can find. Do you guys remember watching that game, Tyler and Cash?
Yeah.
No.
I don't.
I was just gonna say, actually, Glenn. Now that you mentioned that, I was going over this list and I was like, wow, most of these I was with Tyler for. Like he witnessed my reactions firsthand for a good majority of them.
That just
Just
means you
wondering.
didn't really dig very deep for these home runs because
Yeah,
that
you
means
kind of
it was
just
in the
like
past
threw
couple years.
the list together because you forgot.
I didn't forget. No. Maybe it's a nice mixture.
So you have no memory of the David Freese home run?
Not necessarily.
I said yes. Oh, you're not talking to me.
Are you going to tell your story, Cash, or am I going to go?
Me? No. It wasn't that significant to me. I didn't care.
So perfect segue, because Scott talked about Joe Buck's "See You Tomorrow Night" call, paying homage to his father. My number 9 is the original "We Will See You Tomorrow Night" call. It's the Kirby Puckett home run against the Braves in the '91 World Series. It was Game 6. The Twins were down 3-2 in the series. Puckett comes up, and he hits the home run off Charlie Limbrand. I can't read my own handwriting, but I move on. So forced to Game 7. Obviously, we will see you tomorrow night. And then, if you remember, you guys I'm not sure you guys remember. You weren't born, but if I don't know what I'm talking about. The Twins ended up winning the series because the Game 7 1-0 in 10 innings. Jack Morris pitched a 10-inning shutout, which is unheard of now, and he outdueled John Smoltz. So that's my number 9.
Yeah, it's one of the YouTube videos I watched was this home run. Historic World Series. It's one of the most memorable of all time, especially that Game 7 with Jack Morris going that 10-inning shutout. Something that most likely we won't ever see again because no pitcher can get past the 7th inning. Definitely a historic home run. Definitely up there in the top 10 all time, certainly.
Now we go down to number 8. Cash, we're back to you.
Another Yankee great. 2017, Brett Gardner hits a huge home run in the top of the 9th inning at Wrigley Field.
I
Yankees
remember
were
that one.
Counted out. I'm pretty sure I was with both of you for that one because Glenn looked at me and said, Gardner sucks. And I looked at him and I said some obscene things after Gardner went yard.
No, you
But
texted me that. I was home watching the game.
Maybe I texted you that, but
I think we were right out of school at that point. I think we left for the summer.
For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Brett Gardner fan.
As am I.
And Glenn's just a fraud. Glenn hates Brett Gardner. So every time Gardner hits a home run, I rub it in Glenn's face because I love being right. But that was a big home run. That was a huge home run. So
they were down, 2-0?
Yep.
2 outs in the 9th, and he hits a 3-run home run. I think down to their last strike, too. It's a big home run.
Huge.
The Cubs were defending champions, and the Yankees were coming in there. They were still the young, unknown team because you remember going into that
down year.
Yeah,
if
you remember going into 2017, the Yankees didn't have a lot of expectations. We didn't know what Judge was because he was coming off that 2016 where he was terrible. I think he hit 194. We didn't know what Severino was. Sanchez had that 20 home run spurt at the end of 2016, but we were like, can he do it over the course of 162? And they shocked everyone. And they ended up going to Game 7 of the ALCS. And that was kind of the first moment of that season of 2017 for the Yankees where we were like, okay, this team could make noise this year. We might not need to wait 2 or 3 more years until these guys develop. They could be developed right now. So for me, that was one of the highlights of the 2017 season.
Same.
So I like that. That was a good pick, Cash. I like that.
Thank you.
Even though you didn't listen to me.
Shut up.
It's fine. Go ahead, Tyler.
All right, my number 8 is George Brett's Pine Tar incident home run. It didn't stand as a home run, but it was a home run indeed. So I believe it was. I guess I could just look at my notes. 1983. If I get this correct, it was top of the 9th. It was at Yankee Stadium, 4-3 game. Obviously the Royals are away. Royals are losing. George Brett hits the home run. Billy Martin comes running out of the dugout, basically complaining about the pine tar. Umpires deemed it too much pine tar. Obviously, everybody knows this. I don't really have to go through it, but George Brett goes nuts. Famous clip, and yeah, that's my number 8. Called him out. Yankees win. So I guess the Yankees are involved there. They get a win. It's pretty good. So
actually,
and
a couple
8,
weeks
9,
later,
and 10 for me are all Yankees involved. So call me Cash.
Nice.
So that home run, actually, they put it back on the board. Did you know that?
No.
They put it
I had no
back on the
idea.
board, and they played like 3 months later and finished the game.
Well,
that's what they did. And another story. Greg
no
Nettles,
idea.
the third baseman for the Yankees at the time was Greg Nettles, and he knew for a long time that George Brett used a lot of pine tar. And he was like, I'm not going to say anything until it hurts us. And it hurt them. And he said something to Billy, and Billy came out, and then everything happened. And then eventually it was determined through some investigation or whatever they did in the American League offices that pine tar doesn't give you an advantage. So they ended up replaying the game about a month later. And the Royals ended up getting the win.
That's
So,
absurd.
I
had no
never
idea.
knew that part of the story.
You didn't know that?
No.
Are
That's
you making
an
it up?
awesome little tidbit.
No, I
there.
swear to God, look it up. Wikipedia.
But that's a historical
Oh,
clip
Wikipedia
of
doesn't
George
mean
Brett
anything.
just losing his mind. When you
Yeah.
go on YouTube and you look up baseball freakouts, that one's at the top of the list. So
Right there with Lupinella.
I like the little twist there.
Yeah, the game was resumed 25 days later on August 18th. It officially ended with the Royals winning 5-4.
There you go.
I didn't know
So
that.
you learn something new every day talking to me because I am a
clearly
clearly
every
a
Wednesday.
baseball genius. I know everything about the sport of baseball. So
So just to clarify that, about 2 hours ago, Glenn said that Gary Sanchez was looking absolutely terrible, and then about a half hour later,
I stand by that. I stand by that. He looked terrible. I'm glad he showed a half hour later. And now I can't hear Cash.
Yeah, you
Lost you there.
Lost you. All right, whose turn is it?
It is Scott's turn.
Let's keep the show going. Cash,
My
figure
turn?
it out.
We're on 8, right?
Yep.
So my 8 is comes from last season. Definitely, this one's gonna ruffle your feathers, Glenn, just because it's not an all-timer. But Bryce Harper's walk-off grand slam last year against the Cubs was one of the highlights of my summer. Another situation where I remember exactly what I was doing. I had a dual screen setup going up in the basement. I was playing some Fortnite with some friends while also watching this game, and all of a sudden the Phillies start coming back in the 9th inning, and we get to Bryce Harper on a Thursday night rocking the powder blues, the best uniforms in baseball, and it hits an absolute tank into the upper deck in right field. And the call by John Kruk seems to be a theme with me. The call by the announcers that goes along with it, I feel like makes the play as well. Just an absolute bomb. I love that moment. I immediately went out and bought a Bryce Harper jersey the minute
You didn't
it
have one
happened.
already?
I had talked about buying one. I never went around with doing it. And as soon as that home run happened, I bought the jersey.
It's a great call. It's our intro with the Michael K call.
Part of the intro.
It's part of the show. And you're absolutely right about the calls. The calls are so important, maybe just as important as the home runs in some ways. Because if you have a shitty call on a very important home run, that's bad. That's not good for the announcer and his legacy. So
Yeah.
I have all the respect in the world to the announcers who make those calls because it's not easy. We've all done it. We all did it in college. It's not easy at all. Okay,
Absolutely.
my number 8. We can go through my number 8 quickly because we talked about it already. Rajai Davis against the Cubs in Game 7 of 16. Nothing we already talked about. Just tremendous home run, tremendous moment in baseball history, and could have been higher on my list if the Indians won the game. So, Cash, do we have you?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can
sir.
hear you. All right, number 7.
Texted. I'm so freaking smart. All right, number 7, another Yankee great. Alex Rodriguez's first home run in 2009. He was on the DL for the first month of the season. Yankees were really struggling. He comes in. First pitch he sees is against the Baltimore Orioles in Camden Yards. It's an absolute nuke shot. Drives home to Teixeira, and at that point, the Yankees started to turn their season around. And it was a huge home run for so many different reasons, but that started the path to the World Series.
That's a huge home run, not only for that season, but for A-Rod's career in general, I feel. Because remember, in 2009, leading into that, he just got popped for PEDs the first time. He was going through these year after year of being terrible in the playoffs. 04, he was bad. 05, he was bad. 06, he was bad. 07, he was bad. 2008, they didn't make the playoffs. 2009, he gets popped for the PEDs. He has the hip surgery. And people were like, is he done? His career is over. And the Yankees struggled out of the gate in 2009. They were really bad. They went on that spending spree in the offseason. They got CC, they got AJ Burnett, they got Mark Teixeira, and they weren't clicking. And it wasn't until when A-Rod came back where everything fell into place. A-Rod came back, then Teixeira started playing better, Matsui started playing better, the team started playing better, and they took off. And then we all know what A-Rod did in the playoffs that year. I'm sure that's on your list later, Cash, the A-Rod playoff home runs in 2009. But they're not. Oh my God, your list sucks, man. Your list is terrible. Regardless, big home run for A-Rod. And yeah. All right, Tyler, number 7.
I have Barry Bonds' 756th home run in 2007 to pass Hank Aaron. He ended his career with what? I think 762?
64 or something?
One or the other. I don't know.
62.
I think it's 62. But yeah, I mean, look, whether you want to discredit the man or not for what he did, it's still a crap load of home runs. So,
Do you guys discredit it?
No, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. I don't look.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, taints it a tiny, tiny bit. But like I said in that episode, like you're still hitting the home run. You're still putting the bat on the ball. It's not really doing so much for you. But look, you can't erase the moment. You can take the statistics out. You can keep them out of the Hall of Fame. But the moment was the moment. The home run was the home run. So that's why it is my number 7.
Yeah, it was a big home run, and it still stands as. I don't think it'll ever be broken. I know home runs are
I don't
off the
know.
charts these days. I don't know if the longevity of it is the problem.
That's a crazy amount of home runs. Like
It is. It's a lot.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not a math major. I'm not going to do the math in front of me. But how many home runs over the course of a 20-year career do you need to tie? 764 divided by 20.
I feel like
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Can you lean into the
40.
microphone so we can hear you?
38.1.
yeah.
A lot of home runs.
38.2.
38.2 for 20 years.
Sorry,
so you
my
can't get hurt. You
iPhone
can't have a
rounded
down.
down, I guess.
It's crazy.
So,
All right, Scott, number 7.
Ty and I were actually right on the same page with this one.
Oh, wow.
I combined 2 home runs for this one. I did the Bonds 756 and McGuire's 62nd home run.
That's my
for the
number
98
6.
season. So I put these 2 together and I put an asterisk next to it because that's how it is in the record books.
Okay.
But as Ty mentioned and you mentioned, Glenn, the moment, the amount of hype that went into that Bonds home run was huge. And then we talked about it a couple of weeks ago after the McGuire Sosa documentary, how important that home run race was for baseball at the time. So even though some people are going to knock it and say it's not the real record, it is at this point. So that's why I put those 2 together because of the historical positive of it and the negative at the same time. So
One quick story about that home run before I go into my number 7 that I think is really funny even to this day. The guy who caught the 756 home run was dressed in a Mets jersey. Okay? And right at that moment, 2007, their collapse started. So some could say that home run, that fan that caught the 756 tainted home run, if you call it that, was the reason why the Mets collapsed and the Phillies won the division that year. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Absolute great moment in Phillies history right there.
There it is. All right, my number 7 is Jeter's walk-off home run in Game 4 of 2001 against the Diamondbacks, the classic Mr. November.
Damn it, Glenn.
I'm sorry. So, backstory on the game: the Yankees are losing the entire. They didn't hit that entire series really. So they're losing in the 9th, down by 2 outs, 9th inning. Tino comes up, hits the home run to tie the game. The Yankees are down 2-1 in the series. Next inning, Jeter comes up. The chimes hit. It's November, the first ever games that went into November in the history of baseball because of 9/11 that hurt New York City, obviously. And Jeter comes up and he hits the home run, ties the series at 2. And it's such a big moment for so many people, especially the people that were affected. Whenever I see highlights of that World Series in games 4 and 5 of those classic games, I think how many people that are sitting in those seats cheering right there for those home runs like a month before were just broken. So those home runs are very important in Yankee history. And I think they're probably top 5 in Yankee history based on the fact that what that city needed at that time. So number 7 is the Jeter, Arizona home run.
Absolutely. As much as I don't want to say it, the Yankees deserve to win that World Series. If they had won that, would have been huge for the city.
I don't think anyone would have complained if the Yankees won that World Series.
Would have been huge for the country, and tough run for Byung Kim there in that World Series. He's lucky that Luis Gonzalez bailed him out and broke his bat and floated one into center field.
And you know what's funny? The Game 7 of that series, Alfonso Soriano's home run gets completely wiped out in history because they didn't win the game. Kind of like Rajai Davis, kind of like DJ LeMahieu last year. Those home runs are completely wiped through history because you don't win. So Jeter's home run's number 7 for me, and we're going to go now to 6, and we're back at the top of the order with Cash.
Well, great. Now my home run means nothing because
You can still talk about what it means to you. Go ahead.
I have my DJ LeMahieu 2019 home run at number 6. And full disclosure, when I first made this list, it wasn't even on there. I honestly forgot about it because I tried to wipe that night out of my memory. I mean, it was to me that game wasn't fun to watch. I don't know about anyone else. I didn't enjoy watching that game.
Absolutely not.
I was stressed, and the Yankees not playing well didn't help. It didn't help my head. It didn't help my heart or my wallet. So that was a really tough game to watch. And when LeMahieu hit that home run, like it's probably the closest I've ever came to pooping my pants. It was wild. It was, to me, it was so unexpected because I just had given up hope at that point that it was just like, wow, I lost control of my body. I didn't actually, but I'm just saying, like, that was like an outer body experience. It was
That was
wild.
definitely one of the most unexpected Yankee home runs I've
It
ever
just
seen.
came out of nowhere, and LeMahieu's
that
not a
game-
home run guy, you know.
That game, nothing went the Yankees' way the entire time up until that point. The entire game was about the Astros, and I thought it was over. I was at work. I was streaming on my phone. I risked losing my job being on the phone at that time. But
I at that point I was like, oh, we're about to win the World Series, and then what do
yeah.
I know? 10 minutes later, Altuve.
I mean, the Yankees didn't even give us 20 minutes to enjoy that home run. When you watch it now, if you see a replay of it, does it make you happy, or do you just
Turn it
remember
off.
what happens 15 minutes later?
I turn it off. It makes my stomach turn.
But it's on your list of favorite home runs of all time.
Because at the moment it was awesome. Like it was crazy. Like the thought process going through my mind.
Collapsed when.
So quick story
happened.
about that. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings with a few of my friends to watch that game. We left in the 8th, and I was like, I'll just watch the rest of the game at home. Like I'm done. And I get home and I'm sitting with my parents, and like I'm just clinically depressed on my couch. And they're like, Alex, it's just a game. And I was like, no, it's not.
Life.
It's life, and my money is not helping. And then he hit that home run, and I was like I said, I almost pooped myself. But you know, we can move on to
shit happens.
Number 6.
Funny.
But
go up to number 6 with Ty.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste any time really on this, but because Scott kind of looped it in with his 6 and 7, but I had the McGuire 62nd home run to pass Roger Maris in 1998. He went on to hit 70 that year. I'm not going to harp on it because Scott touched on it, but yeah, that was my number 6.
Great.
So my number 6 is actually 3 home runs by one player in one series.
I'm gonna be happy with this one, I think.
It happened in 2004. Might bring back some nightmares for you guys, but David Ortiz in the 2004 ALCS hit 3 mammoth home runs for the Red Sox. None bigger than the one in Game 4 in extra innings to walk it off. Then he came back in Game 5 and hit a 2-run home run in the middle of the game, put the Red Sox ahead. And then he did the same thing in Game 7 in Yankee Stadium, hit a 2-run home run in the top of the first inning, put the Red Sox ahead. Rest is history. Red Sox came back from 3-0 to beat the Yankees and then went on to win the World Series. And David Ortiz's breakout moment as a figure in baseball. That's my number 6.
Not to be rude, but I truly don't care who's next.
Thanks, Scott. Scott, I don't really think that was necessary, but it's fine. Actually, the real dagger of that game, of Game 7, was the Johnny Damon Grand Slam. That's the real dagger of that series. But yeah, whatever. Luckily, I wasn't really invested in the Yankees at that point in my life.
Too young at that point.
Too young. I was 7, so I was like, whatever. But thanks for that, Scott.
You're welcome.
My number 6 is Kirk Gibson. His home run against Oakland in the 1988 World Series, the famous, I don't believe what I just saw, the famous, the impossible has happened, that home run. Hit it off Hall of Famer Dennis Eckersley. He had an injury to both of his legs, so he was out of the lineup, and they were down 3-2 in the 9th, pinch hit, home run. Obviously, the famous kind of celebration while he was rounding the bases. I don't even know what he's trying to do. But
he was just trying to motivate his body to keep going around the bases because he was struggling.
Yeah, just the sheer will. Like, he had nothing. He was not healthy whatsoever, and he just willed that ball over the fence, and he willed himself around the bases. Dodgers won that series in 5. One of the famous calls of all time, one of the most famous home runs of all time. So that's my number 6.
All you, Cash?
I started with 6.
Number 5.
Well, you're
Oh, I thought you said okay. So we don't have to harp on it. We talked about it. My number 5 is Jeter's 3,000th home run. Just unbelievable. Sent chills down my body. I mean,
And
that's
another
really
another home run call. That's in our intro.
right. Michael K. Phenomenal.
He was
Goat.
5 for 5 that day, and he had the game-winning single in the bottom of the 8th.
Great day.
Great
The
day
great-
to be a Yankee fan.
The greatest man of all time.
Tremendous. All right, Tyler, number 5.
Barry Bonds' 71st home run
You
to
got 2 Barry Bonds in
beat
here.
McGuire in 2001.
2 Barry Bonds.
2 Barry Bonds home runs. I mean, he's the leader.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got to be on the list maybe
All-time
once,
and single
if not
season.
more than once.
There you go.
Yeah. Look, I never saw that home run outside of YouTube, but yeah, I feel like it's got to be up there.
All right, Scotty, number 5.
My number 5 is Jose Bautista's Game 5 home run in the 2015 ALDS. We all know it as the bat flip. It's an iconic GIF at this point, that flip of the bat, and led to Jose Bautista getting his shit rocked the next year by Rougned Odor, and almost knocked him out because of it. It's a great moment. It's a huge home run, huge momentum shift for the Blue Jays. I guess it's a personal favorite for me. I just love that home run. So it's probably not the greatest of all time, but I think it has its right place in an argument.
It's amazing how society changes over the course of years. Like, that bat flip was the most controversial thing ever when it happened. And if that happened in 2020,
It's just average.
It's average. I mean,
It's
the
right
Tim
on par.
Anderson bat flip is much more disrespectful than that was. So I think it kind of laid the groundwork for people being like, all right, the people got mad at first, but people were like, you know what? Flip your bat. Who gives a shit kind of situation. So that's a big home run. I hated the Blue Jays. I hated that Blue Jays team so much. I think they were cocky and arrogant. They had Donaldson and Bautista and Encarnacion. And they had David Price, who I hated those teams. So number 5 for me is the Babe Ruth called shot. I went way back.
Were you there live?
1932.
It's
What?
on my list as well.
Said, were you there live?
No, I wasn't there live, unfortunately. 1932 Game 3 World Series. So the story is that the fans or players, and when I did research, I got both, were heckling Ruth the entire game. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to call my shot. He pointed at the center field flagpole, and he says, I'm going to hit it past the center field flagpole. And he hit the next pitch past the center field flagpole. Depending on where you research and where you read, it went either 440 to 490 feet. And the Yankees ended up sweeping that series. But something I didn't know that I learned researching this right before we went on is that the next pitch, right after Babe Ruth hit that home run, Lou Gehrig hit a home run. So they went back-to-back, those two. So that's my number 5.
Yeah, that one's on my
Probably
list
one of the
as
most famous old home runs of all time.
Yeah, and I think the story and like the myth behind it is what makes it so great. So I have that as 3 for me, just because of the legend behind it.
Yeah. And the impact, like when we played wiffle ball as kids, who didn't do that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's my number 5, and we're coming down to the stretch. We're down the stretch. Number 4 with Cash.
Yeah, number 4 with me. Again, another one we spoke about, so I'm not going to really get into it, but it's Jeter's Mr. November home run in 2001. I mean, something the city needed more than anything was a Yankees World Series win. They didn't get it, but that's the closest thing that you're going to get to it. And it's crazy that when you think about the 2001 World Series, you still kind of do think about the Yankees, even though they didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of their year, and they blew it, but that was their year, and most people still do think about the Yankees. It's crazy.
Yeah,
man, but
I agree 1,000%. When you think of the 2001 World Series, of course, Game 7 and the Luis Gonzalez bloop over Jeter's head off Rivera gets its rightful due. But a lot of people think about those 2 games in New York where the Yankees came back in the 9th and ended up winning in extras both those nights. It's the 9/11 factor that makes it so, I guess, pro New York. But
without
the
a
end,
doubt.
the huge home run, probably the biggest moment. If you ask Jeter, and he'll never say it because he'll say, "Oh, whenever we won." But if you said and tried to grind it out of him, what's your favorite personal moment? I'm sure he'd say that home run. I mean, it was the
I
flip.
left him a couple messages. He hasn't
Yeah,
called me back yet.
I'm sure he's going to get back to you as soon as
He's a
possible.
little busy.
Yeah, he's busy.
He's a little busy. Number 4, going up to tie.
Roger Maris's 61st home run.
That's
in
mine. That's my number
61
4.
and 61 to beat Babe Ruth, his 60 home run record. Yeah, look, I mean,
It's the only home run that has a whole movie based on it.
So I kind of like struggled with this a bit, like where to rank it on my list, because obviously it's breaking the home run record at 61, which I had at number 6 was McGuire beating Roger Maris at 62. And then at number 5, I had Barry Bonds beating McGuire with 71 home runs. So, I mean, naturally you'd think that like Bonds should be at the highest of my list, and then McGuire, and then Roger Maris. But I did take the steroids into account here and the Yankee bias. So I ranked Roger Maris a little bit higher.
And
I
for a
agree
lot of
1,000%.
baseball historians, it is still the record. A lot of traditionalists will say that it is. It was brought up in the McGuire Sosa documentary that when Maris hit this home run, it was controversial. People were pissed off that he did it and he beat Babe Ruth. I think they did mention that he got like death threats for hitting this home run.
And people didn't count it for a long time, Scott, because he did it he had more games to do it. The season was longer for Maris.
Yeah, you can't blame him for that. It's
No.
definitely a historical home run. So then my number 4 is one that pains Phillies fans. Thankfully, I wasn't alive for this one. 93 World Series, Joe Carter, Game 6 walk-off home run to win the World Series. Some people I watched a couple of the videos I watched today had this one as the greatest home run of all time for the significance as a World Series clinching walk-off homer. That Phillies team was a ragtag group of guys where there wasn't really a star. They weren't really expected to do anything, but they came together, they got hot, and they made a run. But it was the second of back-to-back for the Blue Jays. Big home run. Painful to say that it, as a Philly fan, because it could have been a World Series for us. But number 4, Joe Carter, Game 6 walk-off homer.
Another one of the top calls in sports history with the touch 'em all, Joe. You'll never hit a
Yes.
bigger home run in your life. Blue Jays won back-to-back World Series those 2 years. I think it was what, 89, 90? Was that?
No, 92 and 93.
92, 93. Okay. So my number 4 is the same as Ty's, the Roger Maris 61. And going off what Scott was saying about how badly Maris is treated, if you watch the Billy Crystal movie 61, they do a good job of kind of saying how badly he was treated, because not only were they treating him badly, but they were also rooting for his teammate Mickey Mantle to beat Maris for the home run record. So it's pretty sad how he was treated, but it's the way it was, unfortunately. So going down to number 3, got Cash.
I got, plain and simple, Raul Ibanez's game-tying home run against the Orioles in the playoffs. My God. The exhilaration. And then he had a walk-off the same night, and that's
Pinch hitting for A-Rod too, right?
Yeah.
you can't beat that. I mean, I did beat that because it's not number 1, but you can't beat that.
It was a big home. I remember that. A-Rod was terrible, and the Yankees were dead. They weren't hitting at all.
Ibanez single-handedly brought them to the next round of the playoffs.
And then in the next round of the playoffs, game 1, the same game Jeter broke his ankle, in that 9th inning, Ibanez ties the game in the 9th off Valverde.
Unbelievable.
And then they didn't bring him back the next year.
Well, I mean, he was old.
He was old, but I don't know. I remember those home runs. Those were big. And he hit a home run in the regular season against Boston in the last couple of days of the season to win the division. Just one of the most clutch kind of 10 days you can have as a baseball player. Was
Without a
Ibanez.
doubt.
All right, Tyler, what's your 3?
Sorry, I had to mute my mic. My brother was singing in the hallway. I didn't know if it was going to pick it up or not. He's still singing. You might be able to hear him.
I don't hear anything. I'm sure he has a great voice.
He does have a great voice.
Okay.
However, number 3 is Bill Mazeroski's.
That's my number 3. We have the same
Glenn, high five.
Oh, God.
Look at that. 1960 Game 7 World Series walk-off. Fun fact, it's the only time that a season has ever ended, or Game 7, whatever, in the World Series.
As far as you can go.
As far as you can go has ended on a home run. That's it. So number 3.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that along with my Joe Carter one for 4. 2 epic moments in history. And Mazeroski was a guy who was known for his glove. Wasn't a big-time hitter for those Pirates teams to then come up and hit a walk-off homer. Great for him. So my 3, as I mentioned before, was Babe Ruth, the called shot. The legend behind that is why I put it there. So, Glenn?
My 3 is Mazeroski, so I agree with Tyler. One story that I found interesting, that was the only time that the Yankees and their teammates ever saw Mickey Mantle cry. Mickey Mantle, I guess, was sobbing off the field going into the dugout into the locker room. And I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Bronx Tale. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. There's a classic scene where Little C goes to Sonny, who's the mob boss, and he goes, "I hate Bill Mazeroski. He made Mickey Mantle cry." Into which Sonny, the mob boss, says to him, "Mickey Mantle doesn't care about you. Why do you care about him?" And it's one of the classic scenes in movies. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. So that's my a personal note on that home run. So now we're going to Cash with number 2.
Yeah, number 2. We talked about this one also, so we could skip right through it. But it's Didi's home run in the wild card game. I mean, being at that stadium, it was. I've been to a lot of Giants games. I've been to a lot of sporting events. That could top the cake. I mean, that was unbelievable. Feeling the stadium shake like that. I mean, it was unexpected. It came out of nowhere, and it gave us life. So that's it for me. Number 2.
All right, Ty.
All right, number 2 for me is Mike Piazza's home run after 9/11.
My number 2 as well.
I just feel like it wasn't a big home run in the scope of the game, but in the scope of the country in the nation at that time, like you can't even downplay it at all. Like no matter whether you're a Mets fan, you're a baseball fan, you're not even a baseball fan, like this has been shown. I've seen this. I saw it in high school in a curriculum. I saw it in college in curriculum. Like it's just shown everywhere. This brought the country together. NYPD, the fire department, they were there wearing the hats. Like it's just a great moment. Like I can't really elaborate on it any more than that because it's just that great. Like there's not much more to say. It's just a
And
huge moment.
It's not like it happened a few weeks after. This was the first game in New York back, and this happened 10 days after. There's still smoke and there's still debris everywhere, and he did that. It was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's my number 2 as well. Epic moment. As you mentioned, doesn't really matter who you're a fan of. Mets are one of our biggest rivals here, but it's huge. The state of the country at the time was everyone was sad. Everyone was just, how do we move on at this point? And for him to go out there and in that game hit that home run, and at that point in the season, it was huge for the Mets. They were in a pennant race. Could you imagine if the 2001 World Series was the Subway Series that we had the year before? How awesome that would have been. A Yankees-Mets World Series that year would have been awesome. But absolutely huge home run. And I think it's an underrated home run as well. So that's my 2. Glenn?
So my number 2 is probably it'd be hard pressed to find a bigger Yankees home run ever than what my number 2 is. I have Aaron Boone's home run against the Red Sox in Game 7 of the 03 ALCS. Obviously, it was off Wakefield. The Yankees were down 5-2 in the 8th, ended up tying it on that Posada bloop off Pedro, of all people, probably public enemy number 1 in those days in New York. Mariano Rivera then pitched 3 scoreless innings, and then Aaron Boone, first at bat of the game, and he hits the home run down the left field line. Probably, you really can't do much better as a Yankee than hitting a walk-off home run against the Red Sox in the ALCS. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, huge. That's this moment of his career. Boone was a good baseball player, but nothing special. But to have a moment like that against your arch rival in a Game 7, huge.
Cash, was that your number 1?
Now we are down to number 1. So here we go. Cash, go ahead.
Yeah, my number 1 is a major personal one. It's not that big of a
all
home
personal
run. Yeah, but this one's different. It's September 9th. Not September 9th, sorry. September 8th. September 8th, 2009. Nick Swisher hit a walk-off home run against the Tampa Bay Rays. September 9th was the last conversation I ever had with my grandmother before she passed. And it was all about Nick Swisher. It was all about that home run. So for me, that's the most memorable home run of all time. It always will be. And the reason I wear the number 33 on my chest all the time is for him, because of him. So it was a really special moment for me and my family. So that's a big one. That's Nick Swisher, number 33. That's my favorite home run of all time.
That's what it's all about.
Glenn, you swiped my number 1 with your number 2. So
Okay. Boone?
the skip with his home run in 2003. It's just an absolute monster moment. There's nothing more to say about that.
All right. My number 1 is Hank Aaron hitting number 715 in 1974. Taking over Babe Ruth. Another historical baseball moment, but it also, you got to bring into the scheme of the country at the point. Just coming out of the civil rights era, Hank Aaron being an African American, becoming the all-time home run king in Atlanta, Georgia, a place where the race segregation was huge. For him to do that, another guy who got a lot of negative backlash for what he was doing, for just being a damn good baseball player. Unfortunately, Barry Bonds came in and took that record away from him. Still, a lot of people have Hank Aaron as the home run king. One of the things I liked watching these old home runs is how fans were just running onto the field. It was absolute chaos all the time when a big home run happened. People are coming on, jumping on top of him while he's trying to round the bases. Could you imagine that now? Like, I don't know.
No.
Somebody hits a walk-off homer and everybody in the stands just storms the field. It's absolute chaos back then. So my number 1, Hank Aaron, breaking the home run record in 1974.
Yeah, it's amazing how fans were allowed to do that. They used to be able to exit through the field after, like, in the old Yankee Stadium. They used to exit on the field, go out the center field gate. Great. And then obviously another fan moment was the Chambliss home run in 76, where he never actually touched home plate. And when they escorted him out to touch home plate to officially score the run, the home plate was stolen. It was completely gone. That's the story. So my number 1 is old baseball. The Bobby Thompson home run, the Giants win the pennant, the shot heard around the world home run. Giants against New York Giants at the time against the Brooklyn Dodgers. Giants were down 4-1 in the 9th. And by the time Thompson came up, it was 4-2. With 2 on, he hits the 3-run home run off Ralph Branca. And it's probably one of the most famous old home runs of all time. It was actually the reason why it was so big. It was the first ever nationally televised baseball game. So the first time the entire country was watching the same game at the same time. So that's my number 1. And that's it. We did it.
Nice.
It was fun.
It was good activity. Did we miss any? Is there any honorable mentions that we did not get to? All my honorable mentions were accounted for.
I have one as a final thought.
I got one.
Okay, go. Final
All
thought.
right.
Go for your honorable mention.
It's 2 home runs. They were hit back-to-back. The debut back-to-back home runs of Tyler Austin and Aaron Judge.
I was there.
I was
That was
listening to it on the
craziest thing.
radio. I told my dad to turn on the game, and I was like, let's listen to the Yankee game, whatever. Like, oh, these 2 guys are making their debut. Like, I knew who Aaron Judge was, but I barely knew who Tyler Austin was. Tyler Austin, I believe, was hitting before him.
Mhm.
He went deep, and I was like, oh my God, maybe this guy's legit. And then Aaron Judge comes up and hits another one, and that was at that moment where I realized that the Yankees have a little bit of a future going on here, because it was a rough time when they came up.
Mm-hmm. I remember that because I was there, and the night before I was also at the game. So I went to 2 games in a row. The night before was A-Rod's last game. So they had the whole A-Rod ceremony, and then he was done. And then the next day, they replaced A-Rod's roster spot with either Austin or Judge, however it worked out. And then Judge and Austin obviously went deep. And Tyler Austin kind of flamed out after a little bit, but Aaron Judge is obviously, as we talked about at the top of this podcast, one of the best players in baseball if healthy. So
Tyler
Scott,
Austin
any final
shining
thoughts?
moment. Tyler Austin's shining moment, taking on Joe Kelly and the Boston Red Sox.
There
in
it
that
is.
brawl.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So my honorable mention, it's just a personal favorite, and the last pitcher to hit a home run in the World Series, that would be Joe Blanton in the 2008 World Series for the Phillies against the Tampa Bay Rays. An absolute blowout. Joe Blanton, average starting pitcher that they had acquired earlier in the year from Oakland, came up, hit a home run, and I think it was like the 5th inning. And post game, they asked him, about that at bat. And he said, I closed my eyes and I swung as hard as I could. And he hit an absolute missile into the left field stands.
Sometimes that's what you got to do.
Yeah. So Phillies went on to win that '08 World Series. Great moment for me. Should have won one in '09 if somebody other than Chase Utley and Cliff Lee showed up. Phillies would have won.
You lost
that
to a
one.
better team.
I don't know about that.
Well, that's another conversation for when we have more time on a different show.
Tough loss on that one. So that's my honorable mention. Joe Blanton, last pitcher to hit a home run in the World Series.
All right, Cash, do you have a final thought or most hated person of the week?
Yeah, Scott knows who my most hated person of the week is.
Yes.
We had a little bit of a home run derby between Brett Gardner. Scott, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell the story.
No,
So
it's your line. It's your most hated person of the week. It's your
Cash
segment.
Cash and I played a game of MLB The Show this week. I played as the White Sox. More importantly, I played as Yasmani Grandal, and Cash played as Brett Gardner. As both players hit 3 home runs in the game, but my 3rd home run with Grandal being a walk-off home run to win the game.
Off who?
So, who was it off of? I don't even remember.
Might have been Britt.
Oh, it was Canely. It was
Canely.
So it's Canely that's the most hated person of the week?
No, it was my fault.
You are the most hated person of the week. You hate yourself.
No, it's Grandal. It's Grandal.
Okay.
It's Grandal.
Good. All right. Well, that was a fun activity. I'm glad you guys listened to me. It's fine. But that's what these podcasts are for. Everyone has differing opinions. So it is what it is. So that'll just about do it for this episode of Base Hit Ball 4 for Scott Roswald, Alex Cashman, and Tyler Boomstick. My name is Glenn Denegris. We will see you next week as we are on our way to a 2020 baseball season.